Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a truly phenomenal historical achievement. We're going to explore how Japan essentially engineered a completely unique spiritual civilization from the ground up, right in the middle of the incredibly volatile Asuka period. If you've ever wondered how totally opposing ideas can actually be fused into a lasting cultural foundation, instead of just tearing a society apart, well, you're absolutely in the right place.
Okay, so let's think about this massive historical crisis for a second. How do you introduce a highly structured, exclusive foreign worldview into a society of deeply rooted nature worshippers without causing a total societal collapse? Historically speaking, when two distinct religions clash like that, it usually ends in conflict, suppression, or complete erasure. But Japan, they found a completely different path.
To figure out how they did it, we're relying on some absolutely brilliant, rigorous research from Kobe University, specifically the detailed historical breakdowns by Kisuke Hasanuma. We're going to uncover the exact mechanisms that one visionary used to solve this seemingly impossible puzzle. It really is a fascinating journey through both architectural history and deep spiritual philosophy. Section 1. The Asuka Period Crisis: Continental Pressure versus Indigenous Tradition. The sheer contrast between these two belief systems is just staggering. On the one hand, you've got native Shinto traditions. These are flexible, polytheistic, deeply tied to nature, and super community-focused. And then, on the other hand, you have Buddhism, newly imported from the continent. It was highly structured, very philosophical, and, in its original form, inherently exclusive. I mean, we're literally talking about a collision of oil and water here. Now, you might be asking, why not just reject the new religion entirely? Well, the geopolitical threat at the time made that pretty much impossible. Advanced, highly centralized empires like the Sui and Tang dynasties were expanding rapidly across the Asian continent. Japan desperately needed a way to unify its disjointed society just to survive. So making this religious clash work wasn't merely a matter of faith. It was a matter of sheer national security. Section 2. Shotoku, the intellectual architect. Engineering a society of harmony. Enter Prince Shotoku. He quickly realized that you couldn't just forcefully replace native gods with foreign ones without, inciting a massive civil war. Instead, he knew he had to engineer a system where both could coexist. So he completely avoided any sort of brute force conversion. His genius goal was to synthesize these completely opposing worldviews, prioritizing coexistence over letting one belief completely dominate the other. Section 3. The Constitution of Harmony, the blueprint for a unified nation. His absolute masterstroke was the 17-article Constitution. He starts it off brilliantly in Article 1 by emphasizing wa, or harmony. By doing this right out of the gate, he's firmly anchoring the new nation in that indigenous, community-focused spirit of Shinto. He validates the native cultural mindset immediately, making it the absolute highest priority of the state. But then, right after that, in Article 2, he commands reverence for the three treasures of Buddhism. And this is the real game changer. He's delicately balancing the native Japanese spirit from Article 1 with the foreign continental philosophy in Article 2, beautifully nesting them together in a single governing document without placing them at war with one another. Section 4. Visualizing Fusion at Horyuji, philosophy built into wood and stone. The amazing thing is, Shotoku didn't just leave this as political theory. He literally built this philosophical harmony right into the physical architecture of the nation's earliest temples. Local Shinto earth gods, known as Jinushigami, were purposefully enshrined inside the new Buddhist temple complexes. Just think about that for a second. They were positioned there specifically to protect the foreign deities. He made the architecture a literal, physical manifestation of his constitution. To truly grasp just how tangible and deeply rooted this history is, let's take a look at the incredible journey of a single piece of timber, the central pillar of the famous Horyuji Temple. The chronological data here reveals a really amazing timeline. A massive tree was cut down in the winter of 593 or early 594 AD. It was first erected as the central pillar of Azuka-dera. Then, remarkably, decades later after the devastating Jinshin War, this very same massive pillar was physically transferred and reused to become the literal backbone of Horyuji's pagoda. I mean, talk about the ultimate act of historical recycling. And this physical journey perfectly mirrors the cultural synthesis of the era. Even today, walking through Horyuji, we see layers of history physically fused together. The temple houses much older Asuka-era Buddhist statues, like the famous Shaka Triad, which was rescued from a devastating fire, living perfectly inside newer Hakuho-era architectural structures. It acts as this living, breathing timeline of preservation and adaptation.
Section 5. A New Spiritual Civilization, the Legacy of Japanese Syncretism. Over time, Shotoku's groundwork birthed a genius theological framework known as Honji Sujaku. Basically, it proposed that the native Shinto gods were simply local avatars or manifest traces of the universal Buddhas. In one brilliant sweep, this dissolved the religious conflict entirely. You didn't have to choose between the two anymore. Revering the local god was effectively the exact same thing as revering the universal Buddha. So what was the ultimate result of all this? It was the creation of a single, highly unique spiritual civilization. By prioritizing harmony and finding incredibly smart structural ways to blend these faiths, Japan managed to preserve its ancient roots in nature while seamlessly absorbing the sophisticated philosophies, governance, and architecture of the continent. Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought for this explainer. Could Prince Shotoku's 1,400-year-old blueprint for synthesizing opposing beliefs be the exact inspiration we need to bridge the massive divides in our own modern world? When we face seemingly irreconcilable differences today, maybe the answer isn't about dominance at all. Maybe it's about finding a way to build our own shared architecture of harmony. Thanks so much for exploring this remarkable piece of history with me.